Hello po! Another week means another Life in Love podcast episode. Salamat po sa biyaya niya na nakakapag-publish po tayo ng weekly podcast. Before I start, I would like to say a big thank you po sa inyo. Yung time po na nilalaan nyo para makinig nito ay isang malaking kagalakan po sa akin. So with your headset, earphone, or AirPods on, you can listen to this podcast po as your background while doing your usual activity. And I also thank you for giving feedback and rating this podcast on Spotify. More blessings po sa inyo, and to God be all the glory. And as discussed po from previous episodes, the main aim of this is to share the gospel and bring honor to God alone. At hindi po yan mababago. And also, there are other reasons po kung bakit nais ko na ipagpatuloy ito. One reason po ay maging repository or storage place itong podcast ng mga natututunan ko po from reading my Bible, then listening to teachers, preachers who share sound doctrine, and also from reading other gospel-centered books. So, I like to summarize what I learned through a podcast that I can listen again and again anytime and anywhere. And as a learner, ako po ang unang beneficiary ng mga great lessons na tinuturo ng ating Panginoong Jesus. Of course, with the help of the Holy Spirit. And praying po na ma-share po ang mga ito through this podcast. Friends, I am not perfect. I still encourage you to have your own personal Bible study time para po ma-check kung tama ba ang mga nabasa or naririnig natin. We can be like the Bereans, as we see in Acts 17 verse 11. They examined the scriptures every day to see if Paul's teachings were true. Ayan, so let's go to our topic. Our episode 5 is entitled, Good News or Good Advice? Ano ba ang tama? Kapag tinatanong po tayo, ano ang essence ng Christian message? Upon listening to one of Pastor Timothy Keller's sermons, he said there that the essence of Christian message is news. Good, joyful news. And as mentioned in previous episodes, the good news is the gospel. I can't remember vividly kung kailan ko po unang narinig ang good news. I was baptized as Roman Catholic, but I never had a chance to apply that religion. Kasi po when I was around 6 or 7 years old, ang naalala ko po ay palagi akong sumasama sa aking lolo. I call him Mamay, along with my other younger siblings and cousins every Sunday morning po sa isang Christian church malapit po sa barangay namin. Hanggang sa nag-teenager po ako, I knew that my faith was growing, but I also knew na marami pa akong hindi alam. I knew Jesus and I tried to be more like Him every day. I called myself as born-again Christian, but I didn't know how deep that meaning was during that time. And many years passed by the grace of God. I was able to gradually understand the beautiful meaning of the gospel. The gospel is the good news and not good advice. So kapag tinanong po ulit tayo, are you a Christian? Perhaps the answer might be, I am trying. I try to live like Jesus, to obey Him, to follow the rules. Those are great answers. Pero hindi po yan ang good news. Good advice ang mga yan. I would like to read an excerpt from the book written by Pastor Tim Keller entitled King's Cross. Ito po yung sinabi niya. The essence of other religion is advice. Christianity is essentially news. Other religions say, this is what you have to do in order to connect with God forever. This is how you have to live in order to earn your way to God. But the gospel says, this is what has been done in history. This is how Jesus lived and died to earn the way to God for you. Christianity is completely different. It's joyful news. The gospel is that God connects to you not on the basis of what you have done or haven't done, but on the basis of what Jesus has done in history for you. And that makes it different from every other religion or philosophy. Kaya po unique ang Christianity. Hindi po siya nakabase kung ano yung nagawa mo para makalapit ka sa ating Diyos. Hindi tinitingnan kung ano ang magagawa mo pa para ma-accept ka. Kundi kung ano ang pagkakaintindi mo sa good news. Ang news po sa Tagalog ay balita, meaning nangyari na. Wala na tayong dapat gawin pa kasi tapos na. nagawa na ng ating Panginoong Hesus. Ano pong naalala nyo na advice sa inyo para makalapit po sa ating Diyos? There are so many advices na ang hirap-hirap gawin at sundin. For example po, ay nagkasala ako. Para mapatawad ako ng Diyos, kailangan ganitong kadaming dasal ang gawin ko. Magpunta ka sa lugar na to o magpanata ka, mag-memorize ka ng mga gantong prayers, give your sacrifice, tumulong ka sa mahihirap, maging mabait ka, maging mabuti kang anak o magulang, ganito ang isuot mo, ganito ka dapat, ganyan ka dapat. Ang dami-dami. Patong-patong na advice na kahit isa, minsan po ang hirap gawin. Bakit? Kasi po tao lang tayo. Bilang isang tao, we are prone to sinning. We fail God every day, you and me. In reality, we don't really need good advice. We need the good news. We need the gospel. We need to understand and accept the great news that something momentous has been done for you, for all of us. The good news that is done outside of you that inflicts in you such joy that you can finally live according to the golden rule. At i-discuss po natin sa ating mga future episodes. And also, as shared by Pastor Tim, gospel is more than just the forgiveness. Imagine, we are clothed in the righteousness of God. Let's look po at 2 Corinthians 5 verse 21. For our sake, He made Him to be sin, who knew no sin, so that in Him we might become the righteousness of God. Ano pong ibig sabihin nito? On the cross, ibig sabihin po ba nito ay naging sinful si Jesus? Na binigyan ng Diyos Ama si Jesus ng sin sa puso niya para maging greedy siya, for example? Para maging makasalanan? No. Jesus was treated that our sins deserve. He was given the treatment that our records deserve. Ito po yung sacrificial work of Christ alone. Ginawa ni Jesus at hindi natin gawa. Then the righteousness of God was imputed in us as a result of our faith in Jesus. Again, ang ginawa ng ating Panginoong Hesus ang tinitingnan ng ating Diyos Ama. Hindi po yung gawa natin. When you give your life to Christ, you are covered with His glory. You are covered with His medals, with all the awards. Then God Himself delights in us. Kaya ang Christianity po ay standing. We have access to His grace because of Jesus. So kapag po nag-iisip ka pa ng kailangan mo pang gawin para tanggapin ka ng ating Diyos, meaning stuck ka pa din sa idea na good advice yan at hindi good news. Remember friends, when we put our faith in Jesus, we are covered with His medals, His badges, His glory. In Romans 1 verse 16 po, ito po yung sinabi ni Paul, For I am not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God for salvation to everyone who believes, to the Jew first and also to the Greek. So, the gospel is the power of God. So when you say that you are not ashamed of the gospel, meaning po may ibang tao na ashamed dyan. There are still some people na na-offend sila and they think it's crazy. Bakit po nasabi ni Paul na hindi niya ikinahihiya ang gospel? Kasi po nakaka-offend ang gospel. Bakit? Kasi most people think it is too easy. Ay kapag naniwala ka na, yun na yun? Wala na akong gagawin? Parang hindi naman tama yan. You have to work very hard for this. Sobrang dali naman yan. Gospel is too simplistic. Imagine, here's the 1st century carpenter died and rose again for you. Ang mga tao po gusto nila may paliwanag, may kailangang gawin, kaya they even like religion better. The gospel contradicts every culture, every worldview. Gospel offends everyone. When we begin to wrestle and struggle with the meaning of the gospel, then the breakthrough will begin. Again, ang gospel po ay hindi list of bullet points na ito ang sundin mo. We have to feel the power of it, the offensiveness of it, then the breakthrough will happen. In Matthew 11, si John the Baptist po ay nasa prison and he is about to be beheaded. Pinadala niya ang mga disciples niya kay Jesus para tanungin siya. Ang sabi nila, Are you the one who is to come or shall we look for another? Bakit tinanong ni John yun? Imagine po, Nasa prison siya noon. Tapos pupugutan na siya ng ulo. Even John doubted and struggled. Pero anong sabi ni Jesus? Go and tell John what you hear and see. The blind receive their sight, and the lame walk. Lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear. And the dead are raised up. And the poor have good news preached to them. And blessed is the one who is not offended by me. Instead of saying kay John na, how dare you to ask that? I am the Messiah. Pero ang pinarating po niya kay John ay, I want you to know that I am not offended by people who are struggling by my offensiveness. What a gentle response from our Savior. Jesus is not upset about our struggle, that gospel is offensive. So if you are doubting, wrestle with it, struggle with it, then believe in it. Hindi po offended si Jesus sa mga struggles natin. Huwag tayo magpadala sa good advice, but believe in the good news. And let the gospel change you. Let the breakthrough happen in you. Thank you for listening once again, my friend. So if you are struggling, leave it to God. Surrender it to Him. If you are blessed by this episode, please share it with your friend who might need this enlightenment. See you again in our next episode. God bless, and to Him be all the glory.